All right, everybody.
Welcome to Flipping Off, a purpose-driven podcast about flipping houses and making a difference. All right. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Meli Kaliki Maka.
Yes, there you go. All right. So, Melina Boswell here. Merry Christmas to you all. And yes, we say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, however else whatever other things you celebrate. But today it's funny. In the house, I have everybody here with me. The only one we're missing right now is Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
We're missing Johnny today. So he had to make a trip down to Mexico. So pick up a really important package. And he's on his...
Not that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, today I got Frank Luna here.
Hey.
Yeah. Christian Rios.
Hey guys.
Marianne Bongco.
Aloha.
And Joel Bongco.
How's it?
Mm-hmm. Andrew Boswell.
Aloha.
And David Boswell.
Hey.
Oscar Solaris.
What's going on?
And Tim Wilkinson.
Hello.
And Kevin Cito behind the camera.
Hello.
All right. So we wanted to have a conversation today about end of the year, right? So what happened this year? What's going on looking forward into 2020? I wanted to bring you guys a little bit of insight maybe from each one of us about what we've done in 2019. And so it's interesting. I was reminded. So first of all, this year, technically, December 31st, 2018, Tim made probably the biggest decision of his life-changing moment for him. He got married on New Year's Eve. Yeah. And so later that night, as we were, sipping tequila and chatting, we, solving the world's problems, Oscar and Christian and John and I were sitting talking, and we were talking about the new year, what it was looking like going into 2019. And I said to Christian and John specifically, I said, so, hey, I don't think 29 is our year. 2019, yeah, sorry. 2019 isn't our year. It's not going to be the year that we come out. 2019 is going to be a tough year for us, and it's going to be a year of building and a year of building is what I really saw. And I guess I was right. I think the one thing I didn't recognize or wasn't able to articulate was that it would be a year of dismantling first, a year of pruning and taking things down before we were able to build. And so I believe that the first part of the year, there was a lot of dismantling that had to take place for us as a group, as a club. And really as us as a leadership team, the club is really us. And as I was looking back on my journals from the beginning of the year, what that looked like, I saw I had a very clear vision in my spirit. I was really clear on the things that needed to take place inside the club, but I wasn't necessarily. Well, the truth is, I didn't remember that. All the clarity that I had, but I journaled. And so I don't know if you don't journal, I highly recommend journaling because it's so helpful to go back and read what you wrote, because then you go, oh, I'm not crazy. I did know what I was doing. But I can say for me, looking back at 2019, it's been, there's moments in time that are a blur for me. And then there's moments that I have that are crystal clear. And in March of 2019, I hit the dreaded or the coveted or the dramatic milestone of 1 year without Dave. So 1 year being a widow, 1 year running the club, on my own with my own vision, obviously not alone with you guys though, and enrolling you in what my vision is, and then all of us sort of stepping in and implementing that. the idea of having both David and Andrew working with me, trying to identify what their roles were, what that looks like. So much went into this last year. And so it's been an incredible year, frankly. And I look back and I think of what we've done, what we've accomplished over the last year is really, really, it's astounding to me. So a couple of things that I set out to do this year, and I'll kind of share what the most important, I think, things that I did, aside from hitting the 1-year milestone of without Dave, I had come to the realization as a leader of the organization that I've now learned very well how to teach people to make money. That I'm really good at creating $1 million earners. I can show people how to do it, what skill set is necessary, and we have the vehicle inside of real estate investing to actually allow that to happen. So real estate is just the vehicle, but the skill set that's required to be a true entrepreneur, somebody who is a driver, a moneymaker, frankly, something that I've got very good at. I recognized that the area I have fallen in terms of people that I coach and mentor is teaching them how to steward the money that they make. So teaching them how to manage wealth, how to manage money, how to budget, how to invest money that they make, and to plan and prepare for the future is something that I have lacked in. And so I made a decision early in the year that I would become a certified financial coach so that I could then teach a class on financial literacy and financial health, right? Is that what we call it, Oscar? Financial fitness. So I did accomplish that this year. I did become a certified financial coach, and so I'm in the process now of creating curriculum around wealth management and stewardship. The second thing is my goal to take the club from a startup model, a startup organization, because that's what it was, a real startup, like from the ground up, and turn it or shift us into a real corporate model so that we could duplicate the club, because I believe that the club is so life-changing for so many people that I want to be able to share what it represents with as many people and truly around the world that I can. And so there's been a huge undertaking of the people sitting at this table that they've taken on to make that a possibility. Actually, more than a possibility. It's a very real thing. So there's been a lot of work that has gone into the organization in terms of transforming it into a corporate model that is duplicatable and scalable. And last but not least, I did embark on the journey of writing my book. And so that's probably been the most difficult thing that I've had to do. It has never been a goal of mine, never been on my bucket list. I always make jokes about if I ever wrote a book, what it would be named, but it's not ever something that I had like a goal, like, hey, I really, really want to write a book. The reality is that I'm not comfortable writing this book. I am doing it very reluctantly and out of obedience because I believe it's what I'm supposed to do. So I am in the middle of writing my book right now. I'm not sure when it'll be completed and ready for publishing, but it is absolutely underway. So I would say that Big Mo, as we call it, or momentum, is on our side, and we are seeing it show up in a large way. So I kind of wanted to hear from you guys. Maybe you could share with our listeners maybe the most significant things, kind of like I just did. I just shared, I gave you a quick synopsis of the most impactful things that I did this year, and it can be personal and or business. I think I'd love to hear maybe one thing at least, and maybe two things, whatever, that happened for you this year and how Big Mo is starting to show up in your lives. So, David, I'll start with you.
Yeah. It's interesting because something I was thinking about while you were talking is I was kind of recapping to the beginning of the year when we first started going down this road. And I was just realizing that my belief level in the club, and like where my actual belief level was. It was just because of a lack of being around it all the time, really understanding like what people were going to do, how much effort people were going to put in. And I didn't know, how much real estate was going to come out of it. I didn't know how hungry people were going to be. So I had no real concept of how to grasp what was going to happen. And so what I realized is my belief level is now like through the roof. It's compared to where we started, because I've seen consistently over the year people who put the work in. We've shown up. First of all, I've shown up. I've just continued to stay in and be committed regardless of how I felt. And I've realized that not everybody, but a few people have stayed in the same way. And the real estate shows based on that. And the activity, the actual things that have happened, I can see those people are having success. So my belief level now is just in an entirely different place. So the commitment, or the idea of being committed, it looks a lot different now, So I can honestly say Big Mo has been something I've heard my whole life. And I know that you put consistent work in, the activity, it shows results after so long. But more than ever over the last year, I mean, we're pretty much overwhelmed at this point.
With too many real estate deals.
Many real estate deals, because the people who have put the work in and stayed consistent they're in deals. There are things happening right now, and it's just all of the evidence is there. So for me, we said, when you said 2019 wasn't the year, I just couldn't. It's crystal clear now. It's just like crystal clear, because the entire year has been building. We've all just been grinding. There hasn't been a ton of success, but you can just see it all brewing. You can feel it all brewing. I can taste it. It's just right on the other side of this hill now. So I don't think anybody's going to have a different experience. There's not a single person.
It's interesting when you say that, like, there hasn't been a ton of success, and it's like we've been building, we've been grinding, but part of that grinding has been they're pruning. So, you don't see quote unquote success when you're in the pruning process, right? You just see dead things.
You don't have that instant gratification, which one of those things that makes you want to quit.
Right. That's exactly right. And so the pruning that we've had to do has been in terms of people, in terms of attitudes and ways of being, and pruning how we've lived our lives. And it's been painful, right? It's been painful. That's why I said the thing I didn't see was the dismantling part. I thought we would be building and grinding, but we have been building and grinding along with the pruning process. And it is interesting how most people don't know what to do with us. Most people don't know how to relate to us. And the people here at this table have decided to stay with us, and which is incredible. And so the pruning and the building is, there's starting to be little sprouts of growth now. And like we can actually see, there's a new growth. Oh, there's a new little sprout coming. And so we know what is to come, right? I know I have a vision for the next 5 years to be pretty unbelievable. And it's going to start this year in 2020. So it's a very interesting thing to go through. I wish we could be like, yeah, it's all awesome. No, it's been painful, painful, so difficult. I mean, as a family, we've been learning how to work together, how to live together. We've been living in different states for the last 10 years. And now we're learning how to, live together and work together. And it's been tough. It's been really, really hard, but great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited for 2020, because now I feel like I feel a clear sense of direction. I know where we're going. I know where the club's going. I know the things that I have to do to get us to the next level, to get myself to the next level. I want to get more organized. Now that things are things are so busy and hectic, it's really easy to lose track of stuff. And if you don't get organized, I can see that you start losing track of things and money starts going missing. Like,
Where'd that go?
yeah,
That's okay.
so-
You're going to have financial fitness class soon. Don't worry.
Exactly. So what better timing, right?
All right. Hey, so Oscar, thanks, David. Let's hear from you, huh?
Sure. For me, it's everything you guys have said, right? But I think when it comes to the success that David was talking about, a lot of times when you're stepping into this business, you look at success as dollars, you look at it as deals, as transactions you're involved in, homeowners that you saved, and so forth. And those are all great things, and that's what happens. But for me, I've stepped back and looked at success in the way of how have we become united? How have we actually locked arms and worked together? And that shift is probably the biggest success we've had this year.
Agreed.
Because it's evident in the people that are joining the club and the success that they're having. Because if you look at, I was sitting here listening to David talking about overwhelmed with transactions. Yes. But if you look at who's overwhelming us with transactions, it's people started right about June, May, June timeframe to join the club,
Right.
that are seeing their own momentum pick up and go.
So true.
So, right. So it's just success is perspective, right? It's all in your perspective and your perception of things. I'm not disagreeing with David at all because there's been a struggle going on, but when I look at it from that perspective, man, the shifts that we've made in how we teach, the courses that we've added, the way we approach our initial training for our club members, the shifts we're making in our support structure, all those things have just been falling into place and is really setting the stage for what's to come in the following year, right? And it's getting to the point of not only is it something that's duplicatable, but it's also adaptable, right? We learned that with Hawaii. We take what we have, it's duplicatable, but now we have to adapt it as well. And it's much easier now to adapt things from lessons learned through Hawaii and all that. So there's a ton of success that we've experienced that most people would look at as like, oh, that's just stuff that you do.
Yeah.
No, we were like that mechanic when the oil pan falls on him and oil goes everywhere. He's like, crap, right? What do I do now?
Yeah.
And then he has to rebuild the engine, right? That's what we did.
That's
So
exactly right.
kinda
well
my
said.
take.
Well said. Well
So
said.
true.
All right. Hey, Tim John. Let's hear from you.
I think, first of all, a lot of what you guys have said, but a few of the things that you said that speak to me personally, specifically this year, is that, like when you said about the dismantling, personally, I feel like I've been dismantled this year. Brand new marriage and just so much shift personally as well as business wise, and then when I look at the club, and I shared this recently with somebody who was struggling with the idea that they wanted to quit, and I was sharing that I've wanted to quit this business so many times, and I've wanted to quit at times when I was broke and nothing was happening. And I've wanted to quit at times when there was so much money and so many deals happening that I couldn't stay on top of it. And I still wanted to quit.
Right.
So Big Mo was dragging me along. And that's how I feel this year. Like personally, I feel like the last half of this year, I've been being drugged by Big Mo.
Hey.
Because we've been really working and doing a lot of things as a club. And, we're seeing, Oscar mentioned that a lot of what we're seeing right now is from club members from like June on. But personally, I'm seeing a lot of activity from club members who've been around for quite a while and they're finally starting to see their own momentum start picking up, and it's like everybody around the momentum is really picking up. And like personally, like what David said, I'm very excited about where I'm personally going, but also where the club is going and where the people that we work with are going. I mean, at the end of the day, they are really starting to pick things up, like so much that like I sometimes feel like I'm being drugged by momentum.
That is the
You
best
know?
thing ever. Big Mo is dragging me.
Right. So
That's amazing.
so
Yeah, and the danger there is you take your foot off.
right.
You don't want to take your foot off the gas,
No.
though. You want to keep Big Mo going. Let it
Right.
drag you for a day or two,
Right.
but no more than that.
Well, when I'm the dismantling for me is learning partly. You've said it to me many times, but as far as like delegation and things like
Leverage,
that,
use the leverage
yeah,
that's
like
available to you.
yeah, not feeling like I have to take everything on myself. So that I think that's where I've been really being dismantled in that way of learning that I need to be able to let go of some things. Dr. Nathan said yesterday in the meeting that he realized that he has to, if there's somebody who can do the job 80% of what he can do, he has to, number one, be able to let them do that, and then be okay with the fact that 80% is good enough.
Yes,
Otherwise, we'll get drugged down by Big Mo because there's sometimes can be just so much going on that you can't take it on yourself.
totally. That's great. Hey, Frank, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's hear from you. Oh, all right. Oh, you did a Christian. There you go.
It's aside from sitting here, we've had conversations about all of the different things that were taking place and people having growth, systems that we're putting in place to capture and take full opportunity of that growth that's happening, which we never actually did before. So for me, the dismantling, restoration, growth, what I feel is like a big, I don't want to say mask, but yeah, like just all the stuff that we do to show that we got this, why I can do that deal and I can do this and I got it, and then going, no, I can't actually. I need a team and I need all these people because, life happens. And when you don't plan or you don't consider that stuff could happen and then it does, like you find yourself like I need a team. I don't have one. So yes, I'm drowning. So for me, the dismantling and restoration taking place simultaneously, because it's not like business stops.
No.
Like for me in the past, I started hitting walls and challenges, business would stop, and I think, and I'd ponder, but it feels like we are more on the same page, and I feel more comfortable asking for help, and I feel more transparent and more vulnerable and allowing so that I don't get stuck. And I walked a property with David.
Yeah.
And usually a lead would come in, I'll go walk it, I'll go handle it, and they say, hey, you want to come check this out? So for whatever reason, I'm like, you know what? I got this lead, I'm going to bring somebody with me. And,
Right now.
And in my opinion, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot more, I think in that there's like insecurities that are going away. Like instead of pretending you don't have insecurities or pride or ego, it's like just push it aside. It's like that doesn't help me to grow and move forward and actually work on the things that I need to work on. So I think everybody had a different experience about themselves personally, but it's still like kind of the same thing. We're moving towards the same area. We all just had different challenges that we had to overcome because of the different personalities that we have.
Of course.
And I think as a coach, working with students this year in that being more vulnerable and sharing more of my struggles with them, I feel like I've connected better with them, that they're having better results, that it's easier for them to come to me with questions because I've been more vulnerable about where my challenges are. And so that rebuilding, and for 2020, I feel like we have a lot of momentum. And for the first time, I don't feel like the momentum's dragging me along, like you mentioned, like because that has happened because I feel like I have a team and support, and I'm more comfortable reaching out and getting that help.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. Hey, Christian.
Hello. So I was writing some notes because all you guys were hitting on such good things, and what I wanted to go back to is what you shared, Melina. January 1st, 2019, when you told me and John that, hey, 2019 isn't our year. And I remember hearing that and gave you a hug. Sure. Yeah. and then after, yeah, me and John are like, dude, what is she talking about? Like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? I was like, I have,
Debbie Downer.
I made goals and I want to hit them.
Kill it.
Yeah. So what's interesting is it's kind of like what Oscar said. And like, this year's been like, as far as financial and like closing deals, it's been there, but it has been just a year of pruning. And I think, getting like Nathan and Angela involved, what we're all really good at and what was clearly articulated is we're very good at managing ourselves, but now we're in a position where if we want to really grow it and duplicate it, we have to be really good at managing others. And that for me is like what I feel like I've been, growing into, and that's a lifelong, process. So I've enjoyed, some parts of 2019. Some parts have been,
Unbelievably painful.
Yeah, painful and a struggle. But I definitely think it was a year of pruning and something that you hit on where you're very clear on where we're going, for the next 5 years. I heard a quote recently. And it said, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can do in 5 years. Absolutely. And I think that's so huge, even for new club members coming in. For all of us, we had some very ambitious goals this year, and we've hit a lot of them, but I think we're still underestimating what we are going to do in 5 years. Agreed. Which is going to be super cool. Super cool to see. I know David hit on clarity, and that's actually my word for 2020, and I just feel that's where we are. Exactly what you said. Moving forward as a club, clarity on expectations, clarity on roles, clarity for myself on what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, what gives me life, just being very clear of that. So I'm excited for 2020. I think, this last club meeting was great. And I really believe we're entering a season of spring, and spring is an opportunity season. And I love, the saying of, you don't want to be a farmer that still has seeds in their basket. You don't want that season to pass. So if you're going to be joining us and you're going to be entering a season of spring, you better hop on and start planting.
Yeah. Boom. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. That's interesting. I do believe, that's a really interesting thing that you just said right now, like really hit me, in that, I've been in winter, and, spring follows winter, and my word for 2020 is live. Wow. Hey, Marianne.
Hello. So I'm sitting here and I'm marinating with everything you guys said about dismantling and rebuilding. And I'm thinking, okay, what is Hawaii? What is it about, what we're doing in Hawaii? Because obviously we're just building, right? We're ground up. And so for me, initially, I'm thinking, okay, what do we do as far as building Hawaii? And what I found looking back is it was, my first thought was, okay, building the business. But in reality, it actually was, for me, spiritual growth. And just thinking back about that, and November 26th, I shared this story before. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I got woken up, and there was this word just pounding in my head, and the word was steward. And I'm like, okay, God, I don't know what you're trying to tell me, but I'm going back to sleep. And I tried to go back to sleep.
November 26, 2018.
Like 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? Okay, I'm going to go back to sleep. And he kept at it. And I'm like, frick, he kept at it, and I'm like, okay, I'm up. What does that mean? And it was like, is that my word for 2019? And I was thinking, but it actually felt like it was a word for Hawaii, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're being blessed by you folks to be able to do this in Hawaii, and with your guidance and with your support. And I just felt so deep that, hey, we got to do right. We've been given this responsibility, and it's kind of scary because the growth we've experience in from July till now is just amazing. And it's scary because they look to you for guidance, and we're like, oh my God, do we really know what we're doing? And it's it's so nice to be around you folks, because there's so many nuggets and so much things that we can grab from you folks and take it to Hawaii. But it's scary, but it's exciting.
Very exciting.
Very exciting to
Very
listen to
exciting.
that. So I'm looking forward to 2020.
Awesome. It is funny that I knew we were going to be building, January 1 of 2019. I don't think I even recognized or had any idea of how Hawaii was going to be building, how we were going to be building it, which is in my mind why it's so powerful and why it works, because I know the way I live my life and run my business is that I need, less of me. I know when I sit back and I let God work in my life, and I just show up, and that is how I've been operating since March of 2018. It was like, okay, I'm just gonna, I need you to lead, God, and I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna do what you say. And so that is exactly what we've done. And I can't even I don't think any of us can actually take all the credit for where we've gone this last year, not even a possibility. So thank you. Joel, can we hear from you? Although, Marianne, why don't you just share my most favorite, the most profound quote of all time? The question you should ask everybody. The question of 2019
is, are you looking for a deal, or are you looking to build your business?
Boom. So let's hear from you, Joel.
Yeah, so one of the things I'd like to acknowledge, just in terms of building momentum in Hawaii, it really started with you guys, with the club. And this club has been in the making for, 10 years?
10 years.
10 years. So there's a lot of sweat equity there, a lot of sweat equity that we leveraged in Hawaii. And that's why we went from not having anybody to over 40 club members in Hawaii. It was really because of the sweat equity that was built out of the club. One of the terms that I would also like to introduce is innovation. And one of the things with innovation, whether you can see it via the web or your iPhone, is technology. Part of it is it's always reinventing itself. Meaning there's parts, we call it pruning. In technology, they call it deprecating. So deprecating meaning features that don't really work for the users anymore, to make room for new features.
Yes.
So one of the big things from a club perspective is, in terms of building momentum, leveraging innovation. And that's not only in terms of technology, but in terms of processes.
Yes.
And I think we are at this tipping point of really bringing it together. And if you see Hawaii, the reason why Hawaii is where it is today is because of the club. There's just no way that you can go from 0 to 40 in just a few months.
Yeah.
And it's really based on momentum. And I think one of the lenses that we look at is, it wasn't a year of rebuilding for us, it was brand new construction.
Yeah.
And we built this house in 6 months. That is just unreal to me. So that's a really fresh way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And it's because of the sweat equity. And if you were to peel that, it's the best practices, the things that worked and worked really well,
Right.
as well as the lessons learned, the things that didn't work so well. For us, we can take those lessons learned and say, okay, we're not doing that, and we're doing things better. And the other thing that we can do, being the fact that we're on this small island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, is we are the gateway to Asia Pacific. We are the gathering place for 1.3 million people coming from a variety of different areas. We can be the test bed. And I think part of innovation is, there's a methodology today called design thinking. And part of design thinking is exercising muscles so that you can solve problems that haven't come out yet. And I think one of the big things in that is to ideate. So that is the whole process of coming up with new innovative things on how we do things today. So I think Hawaii, in terms of helping with Big Mo, is not only consuming a lot of the sweat equity from the club, but also giving back and finding new ways to do things better, faster, with a lot more velocity, a lot more effectiveness.
Pow. Boom, chakalaka. All right, Andrew. That's your El Jefe right there. Go ahead and
So a couple of things, I guess, for me. I think in the beginning of this year, I kind of thought I had an idea of what it was going to look like. I think I thought that, you talked about building and how we were going to change everything. And I was like, okay, cool. This is going to be a year of rebuilding the club. Sweet. Wow. I had no idea like how much that was actually going to require of me to grow. And it's been a couple of things, I guess. A couple of the biggest things for me was that when I first moved to Hawaii, I think it was put in my face that I was going to have to grow a lot personally. What I thought, or what that part of that meant, and what I was kind of clear on was that I was put in a position where I was going to have to coach people. So, like most of my life, we were talking about it last night. I've always been kind of I'm the guy who's pointed and said, "Go do this," and then I can go get stuff done, right? Not having that direction made me grow a lot more. I had an idea of what we were going to do and everything, but it still wasn't.
You got dropped on an island.
Yeah, I got dropped on an island. Yeah, and I guess I think the biggest thing for me though is that, and it's crazy listening to Joel talk, man. It's brings up a lot of emotion in me, but he always says very profound things, and one of the things that he says a lot that has really stuck with me a lot, and one of the things that he says that we're building off of momentum from the club, but a lot of that is really because of his experience and what he's brought into it. He always says that when it comes to real estate, you don't want to like if somebody said to you, like Apple has the iPhone 10, right? And if somebody said to you, hey, go build a brand new iPhone that's better, do you think you could do it?
No.
And it's like, yeah, no way. They have 10 plus years into this phone. Well, what if we gave you the blueprints for the iPhone 10 and said, go build off of this and make it better? And like the truth is he put his money where his mouth is. He actually put feet to his words, because the truth is that a lot of what we'd experienced and the momentum and the reason that we have it is because Joel has brought his expertise and stuff and his experience from other businesses and poured it directly into the club. It's made me like, I thought I was going to grow on having to coach, but he's pushing me to grow in my mind in a different way than I ever expected. It's not just, hey, how do we duplicate this? It's how do we make this better while we're duplicating it? Yes. Like, how can we take the momentum and build even better off of that to make a better user experience, if you will?
What did you say? Deprecation? Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Deprecate, yeah.
Deprecate, yeah.
It's that has been the biggest, I think probably the single biggest growth for me in my mind is actually learning and getting tips and how to actually build a business. It's not just, how to do real estate. Like we're doing something so much bigger than that. Every time I meet with them, it's, hey, how do we improve the experience? What more can we do? How do we give back more? How do we help them more? It's like, it's just changed my perspective completely on everything, and it's forced me to grow mentally in a way that I didn't even know I was going to have to at all, especially not this early in my life. So,
Yeah, you're going to be 26 in a few weeks, buddy.
Creeping on 30.
You're closer to 30 now than you are to 20.
I know, it's crap. It's not supposed to. No, it's I wanted to acknowledge that though, first and foremost, that's probably been the single biggest, like, the growth that I've had personally has been because of Joel and Marianne. That's why, truthfully. And I'm very grateful.
I love you.
I'm just amazed because I remember in the past just seeing some of the videos as we were embarking on starting up NWAC Hawaii, and I would always see Andrew in the background, and he was the hug guy. He was the guy in the back giving the hugs, but he was never in the front. And it's just amazing to me that, when I see him up there, I'm like, wow, it's effortless, and just his command presence, it definitely reminds me of Dave.
Yeah, he said, "Oh, he's never in the front of the room. I'm going to fix that."
And to mentor people that are like double his age is amazing, and you can see the respect they have for him, even though he's so much younger than they are. It's just amazing.
So awesome.
He's going.
Yeah, from my perspective, I couldn't agree with that more. There was one Saturday when we were on the Big Island, actually. It was the first time we were doing an introduction in Kona. And so it was a Saturday morning, and I was sitting there in the real estate, the realtors board. Their conference room. We were doing an introduction, and Andrew was actually up doing the introduction. And I was sitting there, and I got a picture of David in Riverside closing the introduction in Riverside. And I just sat there in a moment of feeling like this is surreal, that we are, in two different places at the same time, and that both, the Boswell boys were stepping into and owning their position with the company. So it's really interesting. Marianne, thank you and Joel, both of you, thank you for sharing that about them. As we were sitting here, I was thinking to myself, how proud Dave would be, how proud he, I wonder if he ever thought that this would be a possibility. I wonder if he ever believed it was going to come true. I know that he saw and knew David and Andrew and who they could be, and me, frankly. The way he saw us was through a lens of perfection, and how he dedicated his entire life to the three of us, to making us better, to making us the best we could ever be. I think starting first, keeping us safe, and then making us better. And so I just felt like today I just wanted to say, Merry Christmas, Dave. So anyway, hey, this is the Boswells and NWAC, and we're flipping off. I'm Melina Boswell, your host of the Flippin' Off podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, we'd love for you to subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and tell your friends all about us. You can find more episodes of the Flippin' Off podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever else you like to listen to awesome podcasts like this. If you like what you've heard, we'd really appreciate it if you'd follow us on Facebook and Instagram and tell us the stories that you'd like to hear. Tim Jackson is our senior producer. Luke Jackson is our editor. Brothers. Josh Maldine is our producer. Sound design by Frequency Factory. Our executive producer is Mind and Mill. This was all created by Dave Boswell for New Wealth Advisors Club.